I started this painting in June 2024, right after getting back from my show in LA. And she came up in my head just about fully formed, and I thought I had a pretty solid concept of her. And, usually when that happens, I can finish pretty quick. But with this one, after the bones had all been set and she was more or less blocked in, I felt I'd kind of hit the ceiling for some reason, and I just wasn't comfortable finishing her. I kept changing the face, and I just felt like I'd lost the rhythm to this piece. So, after I covered the whole canvas with a layer of paint, I stopped. And I figured she'd have to just go to sleep for a while so I could see her with fresh eyes, which is fine, because at any given time I might have up to 10 or 20 paintings in rotation, and as the layers dry, I just move on to the next. But I knew when I started her that she had a specific thing to express, but I wasn't, something told me to stop, put her away. So she sat in my studio facing the wall through the fall and the winter. And then the holidays happened, and on New Year's Day, my father died. Everyone loved my dad, and he was really and truly a gentle soul. He could talk to anyone, and he'd put you at ease, And after he passed on New Year's Day, for a while, everything just kind of stopped. It's kind of like when my mom died, and it's the same kind of feeling, like it just felt like someone handed you a brick. When I was able to go back into the studio, this painting, which I was beginning to think I didn't know how to finish, was practically screaming and reaching out for me to work on. And all of a sudden, she just made sense. Her face absolutely revealed itself, and it was a very different face from where it started, but the structure was all prepared. I was able to just put all my feelings I had about my dad and about death and all the unresolved bits and pieces just hanging in the air into her features. And obviously, I used the light as a tool, and throwing the shadow over both eyes for me is usually a way to communicate like a burden or struggling through some kind of turning point. What a difference when I went back to her, that there was such a rhythm to every brushstroke. And in a way, painting my thoughts and everything in her eyes just felt like putting down a suitcase I didn't realize I was carrying around. It was almost mystical how perfectly everything fell into place when I went back to her. And I wasn't really in the mood to start something new. I just wanted to hit the ground running. Lo and behold, here's this stage kind of perfectly set and just waiting. I remember the first layer feeling deliberate and animated, but removed in a way, kind of. And then when I got to the face, it all just fell apart. And then when I went back to it, it was so abrupt in becoming obvious what the painting was. This is clearly a goodbye painting. But I didn't see that until like half a year after I started. And, now looking at the finished work, it's so moving to me that so many of the visual elements that came together to form this piece all ended up building a story that at the time I didn't know would be so important for me to eventually capture and express. Like, for instance, all those reflections on the layers of glass, I think they seem like memories, sort of shifting between her hand and who she's saying goodbye to. And then there's all the empty seats behind her, like a reminder of how fleeting even the most profound relationships are. And then even something as simple as that light sort of slipping through her fingers, almost as if this creative idea showed up early and then just parked for a couple seasons. And then when the moment was right, she just took me by the hand and we walked through all the feelings I couldn't give voice to.